Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel, LifeSnapShot. Evelyn Muttley Greg here from Australia. Appreciate all your support so far. Cannot do it without you. Thanks very much for dropping by. It's your first time. Thanks very much for checking us out and coming along on the ride of life. So our channel, basically cost of living here and everything. And look, I've tried to keep this real and positive, and I'm just about done. I cannot give anybody any more information on how I've done my life, why I did it, what situation I'm in, and how I got there. I just can't do it anymore, and I can't keep a positive spin on it. It's hopeless. So for this last sort of thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into this super, borrowing money from your super, and how dumb an idea it is. I just can't put it any other way, and I can't put a positive spin on it. But we're gonna change up this channel a bit, and we're gonna go into something new from now on. So the cost of living guys are pretty much done. Hope you hang around anyway. I'm gonna come up with some few ideas, probably about Australia, probably still our lives, but not so much a cost of living thing. Just how we look at our future and what's going to happen, and maybe someone can take a bit of positivity from that. But as for the cost of living, I can only do so much, and I've pretty much done it. So anyway, this super for retirement, come on. If anybody believes that a politician is going to do a good thing for young people to get into a home faster, then you're living in some sort of fantasy land. I'm sorry to say it, but I'm going to be real about it. I've always been real about this channel. I haven't got no fear in letting people know what I think. Okay, let's break this down. I'm going to put a couple of graphs up here so people get what's going on. Imagine a 20-year-old now who's just left school, okay? Just left school, and he wants to go out in the world and do his thing. His or her thing, okay? What are you going to do? You've left school. Are you going to walk into a $50,000 a year job? Let's just say you do. You walk into a $50,000 a year job. On top of that, as you can see the graphs, on top of that, you have to rent. You have to pay your utilities, you got to eat, you got to get to and from work, travel expenses, and basically you got to live. Check out the graphs. Average rent in Australia, wage, and your super contributions is 11.5% of your wage. That's what your employer's got to do. How many 20-year-olds do you know earn more than $50,000 a year? $1,000 a week? I don't know any. Most people go out from school, and if they're lucky, they stay home, okay, and they go and get a part-time job. So they're only working 2, 3, maybe 4 days a week, right? And if they're lucky, they're still living at home, and mum and dad are not smashing them with board and looking after them that way. But most 20-year-old, not most, sorry, some, if not 50% of 20-year-olds want to move out and make their own path in life, and good on them. I'm glad you're trying to do that, but keep it real. So let's break this down. 20-year-old moves out, let's say he gets 50,000 a year. On top of that, you got rent, food, like I said, utilities, and you got to travel. You got to get to and from work and such like that. Right off the bat, just an average $50,000 a year is not even close to living. You will lose all your money. You'll have nothing to contribute to your super. You'll definitely have no saving. So how is it possible that you're going to save, even in your super, to put a deposit down on a home? Average house price is around 700,000 Australia-wide. In Sydney, it's almost $1 million. But let's just go on Australia. So you need to come up with at least probably about 100 grand for a bank to even look at you, and 5 years minimum full-time work. So if you're part-time when you're 20, banks don't care. They don't care if you're earning $2,000 a week part-time. They're not interested. You have to have full-time work, and you have to have a lot of it under your belt. 5 years minimum. So how many 20 to 25-year-olds earn more than 100K a year, can put 11.5% and contribute to their super to build their super up so that they can take a certain amount of it, because these politicians think that's the answer? I'll tell you how many. Big fat zero. So let's be real about this. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. By the time you're 30, and if you're earning $100,000 a year since you were 20, which is zero amount of people in this country can do that. Most people by the time they're 30 are barely earning 100K a year. Maybe you're thinking a uni student. Well, a person leaves school and then they're a uni student, right? Because they want that $100,000 a year. They want that great higher education. Well, 5, 6, 7 years later, when you finished your uni and you've only been doing part-time, then you walk into the workforce. Then you still got to look for that $100,000, $120,000 a year job. You're starting your working career at 27. Again, you're going to need at least 10 years to build up some sort of super, and then the government's not going to allow you to use all your super to do this. This is such a bullcrap thing that the politicians are arguing about. So let's break this down. We haven't mentioned insurance, we haven't mentioned health, social life, all that sort of stuff. What about if you get married and have kids? $120,000 a year is nothing with just one child. Then add rent, utilities, all this sort of stuff. You're not going to be able to contribute to your super. Most people, right, super is for retirement. Now think about this scenario. Most people on an average wage who just work through their life with an average wage, 75, 80, 100K a year, don't have enough money at the end of their working life to retire. They still need a part pension. They still need taxpayers' help. So how the hell is someone going to be just 10 years into the workforce and come up with $100,000? Let's put in the best case scenario for somebody. You leave school and you live at home with mum and dad. Mum and dad have paid off their home. They've got a great amount of money and they're sitting pretty. They don't charge you board. You just live at home. But the deal is you've got to put at least half your wages away to save for a house. Brilliant, brilliant idea. Mum and dads who do that, fantastic. But still, let's just say you're earning $50,000 a week, $50,000 a year, and this is the scenario you've got. Live at home, no board, no nothing. You've got to put aside in your super, you're better off probably just investing it anyway, but let's just use the super scenario. So you're getting $5,500 from your employer and you're putting $15,000. Right? So you minus your tax from 50, you're down to 45. The super contribution, and then the 20,000. So you've got $20,000 left at the end of the year, and you put that into savings. So now you're putting into super 20,000 and you're putting savings 20,000 and you're living at home. Now, in the next 10 years, as long as you don't have a child, you still can stay home with mum and dad. Inflation, interest rates, the criteria to get a bank loan doesn't change. Everything stays as it is. You'll have what? 200 grand in savings and $200,000 in super. And you're 30 years old. And you don't lose your job. That's another big thing. And you don't lose your job. So all that stays exactly as it is. Nothing goes up. Everything's perfect. You don't have any children. You might get married, but you still live at home. Nothing majorly happens wrong in life, health, God forbid, all those things that just sneak up behind us. You'll have 400,000. Now, if the bank allows you, you could probably borrow with they won't want to take the 400,000 because that's not in their best interest. So you put $200,000 down, you might be able to borrow 600 to 700,000. I doubt very much more. I doubt very, very much more. Without mum and dad putting the house up as capital, then the sky's the limit. You'll probably be able to do it. So all that scenario has to be that perfect, and then the house prices stay the same for the next 10 years, you can afford your home. Sorry, you can afford a mortgage on a home. Don't listen to these politicians. 90% of the workforce that is 20 to 30 years old right now, this does not apply to them. This super, borrowing your super to pay for a deposit to buy a home. 90%, it does not even come close. Like I said, super is for retirement, and most people will work 30 to 40 years of their life and still not have enough, even contributing. So how is a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old going to come up with a 10% deposit on $1 million home? That's about as average as you're going to get in Australia by the time 5 years goes down the track. So you've got to come up with 100K. You better be living at home. Mum and dad better be ready to put the house up as capital, and you might get a bank that says, okay, we'll lend you 800 grand. So you're still not buying probably the ideal home you want. You're still not going to be buying it in the area you want. And then you still got to go to work. You still got to start a family. Sorry, but it won't work. I'd love to tell you otherwise, but that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Leave some comments down below. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear from you. Good, bad, or ugly. All the best. Take care, guys. Appreciate you hanging around. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Look out for the next one. We're going to change it up. Bye.